Hello everyone, this is Kona, and thank you for tuning in to another TF2 commentary. Now once in a while, Valve will tweak certain weapons of a class, right? They'll buff some, they'll nerf some, and you know, if it's your favorite weapon and they nerf it, yeah, you feel kind of bad, but usually you can find something else, right? Today I want to talk about class buffs and class nerfs. Now these are changes that are done to the class themselves, or to a very large amount of items for that class that really change the class. It seems like it almost buffs the entire class, or it nerfs the entire class. Now, not so surprisingly, there's a lot more buffs than nerfs, and this sort of makes sense, right? You don't want to take away too much from the player. If you give them a capability and take it away later on, it kind of sucks for that player because they spent all this time learning. Instead, it's good to buff the class, give them more things to work for, more capabilities so that they can learn. And so generally, yeah, you'll see more buffs than nerfs, but it doesn't mean there are no nerfs. But I want to start with the class buffs, so let's get started. So my first top class buff is for the Spy, and it happened during the Gunmetal update in July of 2015. They finally fixed the reload animation for the revolver so it doesn't smack you in the face. They made it a lot faster to switch between disguises. You have less damage taken and also less time in a debuff while invisible. And you can do that sap and shoot against sentries a lot easier. I guess it's more effective to do that now. Some of you might remember when the Dead Ringer was buffed and they added the 3-second speed boost on activation. And when they did that, oh boy, it was actually kind of hard to catch up with these spies, to actually chase them down, because they're just get the kill, activate, and then they're gone, right? And with these buffs, with the Gunmetal update, it's even harder to kill them. This update is all about survivability for the Spy. And if you're new to the game and let's say you're trying to kill a spy that's covered with some sort of debuff like Girardi or Mad Milk, that thing happens so fast that you might not actually see it. It's very, very quick. And so if you're not really looking for it, a spy can actually get away with Mad Milk and you just completely lose track of them. Also, they increased the Spy's base movement speed to 320, so it is now 107%, which is the same as the Medic. So that means that the Spy is faster than the Pyro, his main counter. I guess that sort of makes sense. You want to make sure that he can get away from the Pyro, but at the same time, as a Pyro, it can be very frustrating to think that, oh yeah, I can just go Pyro and then deal with spies. But now spies are actually a little more difficult to deal with as a Pyro. And my brother and I were thinking, well, what could be the next best spy checker besides the Pyro? And we were thinking, well, maybe the Scout, because the Scout has the speed to actually keep up with the Spy. And also maybe a soldier who is able to rocket jump can actually, outmaneuver the Spy. So yeah, the Spies, they're a lot more slippery and a lot more evasive. The next class buff on the list is for the Engineer, and it also happened during the Gunmetal update in July of 2015. The base ranged construction speed has been increased, teleporters and dispensers are a little bit faster to deploy, your movement speed while hauling things is now a little bit improved, and your stuff doesn't self-destruct when you change wrenches, so that's nice. But there was a nerf, things do cost a little bit more metal to repair. And what this translates to is that engineers can be a little bit more mobile with their stuff, a little bit more aggressive. They can keep moving their things and keep repositioning them, sort of pushing with your team. Back when, I don't know if you guys remember, but back when Engineer couldn't even move his buildings, the only thing to do really was to build your stuff and just whack it with your wrench, which is very, very boring. They did, add the ability to move your stuff, and they also added things like the mini sentry so that you can be a little bit more mobile. But generally, it was just kind of whacking your stuff, and it felt a little bit risky to actually pick up your stuff and move with your team because things were so slow. But now, engineers can actually do this. They've given them a little bit more so that you can actually move up with your team, actually put level 3s, not just mini sentries, but level 3s in very, very aggressive positions. Now, I'll admit that I suck at Engineer. I don't really play it a whole lot. And for me, that's okay, because that just means that I have a lot to learn, and it's exciting to learn new things. I might even consider using scripts. I'm not really sure. I'm not really a script kind of person, because I know you can get scripts for engineers that really help you out with, destroying and deploying buildings, and that speed increase is just, it actually can make a difference. So I'm not really sure I'm going to use that yet, but I'm just trying to learn a little bit more about the class and learning when I can be a little bit more aggressive with it, because I'm sort of stuck in the old mentality of just turtling behind my gun. This next buff is for the medic, and it happened pretty recently in the Meet Your Match update in July of 2016, and it's that all medic guns allow the medic to match the speed of their heal target. Now at first I didn't think this was that big of a deal because the quick fix could do this, right? But when I started thinking about how maybe this can be used in competitive and also casuals, well, in competitive, there's usually a lot of scouts, right? And this is going to make the medic a lot harder to hit if he's healing the scouts. I thought maybe that can be used strategically, where at certain points you actually just heal the scout for the speed and for just being really hard to hit, just being slippery. And also, this can also be used effectively in casuals as well, I think. You can actually rush to points a lot faster because you can, if you latch onto a scout, you can maybe get to the front lines a lot faster and save your team. Now I'm still trying to feel out whether this buff is as good as I think it could be. I'm not really sure yet because sometimes when I play medic, there are scouts on the team, but they usually just come to me for healing and then they just bolt off and go off and do their own thing. And that, that's fine because scouts should be trying to flank and pick off people, and so I understand that. But maybe there can be a little bit more coordination between scouts and medics. Maybe if scout and medic both die and there's no teleporter, maybe the scout can hang back and make sure that he can drag the medic to the front lines a lot faster. Or maybe Kritzkrieg scout, that might work now that the medic is a little bit more harder to hit. A Kritzkrieg scout might actually be pretty effective if the scout is on point with his shots. So we'll see how this plays out. Now moving on to the nerfs, and like I said before, nerfs really don't happen a whole lot to classes, but I think it did happen to the heavy in the Love and War update in June of 2014. All miniguns now have to be firing for at least 1 second before reaching its full damage and full accuracy. So that basically means you have to pre-fire. And if you combine this with the patch that happened a long time ago, back in February of 2012, they made the sandwich so that you can no longer just heal yourself by running over the sandwich, by dropping it and just picking it up. Now you have to actually spend the time to eat the sandwich, and yes, you do get full health, but still, I really missed, I think that was 150 health, I'm not really sure, I don't remember the exact health of picking up the sandwich, but it really made heavy stay on the front lines without a medic. Sometimes heavies could flank without a medic, and you can sort of do that still, but heavy is really slow, and combined with just the slower damage ramp up, or the fact that there is any ramp up for damage and accuracy, makes heavy kind of difficult to play sometimes if you're not just tanking everything and stuff. It kind of makes heavy hard to do the flanking route and try to be sneaky. Now I'm not really sure why these nerfs were needed. Maybe it's because heavy was winning too many one-on-ones. Like if you pop out of a corner as a heavy and you have full damage immediately, that there's almost no chance for anyone to kill you. So maybe they did something like that. So now if you want full damage, you have to pre-fire, and if you pre-fire, you're making a sound, and maybe even your bullets are flying past the corner. So it's pretty obvious you're there. So maybe they had to do something about that. Now I hope Valve adds something to the heavy that makes him a little bit more interesting to play. He just seems a little bit stale for me, and I know that there is Fat Scout, right? I could try Fat Scout, and I have, and it's okay, it's fine, but I don't find it as effective as just playing with the minigun. So I'm hoping that they come out with something for the heavy as an alternative way of playing that makes him a little bit more interesting to play, more stuff to do. Speaking of which, congratulations to Team Pyro for winning the Heavy vs Pyro war. I was Team Heavy, but that's okay. I figured Pyro would win because I think Pyro is generally more popular. And that kind of makes me think about how the Pyro is going to get fixed and what the new weapons are going to add. Because, I think the general consensus is that Pyro seems a little bit broken right now. It's kind of unfair sometimes because the particles don't match the hitboxes, and even two Pyros fighting each other, one Pyro has more range for some reason, and that seems a little bit broken. And so I'm wondering if when they fix the Pyro, if it might feel like a nerf. I'm hoping it doesn't, because I'm hoping just Pyro just feels right when they fix it. I'm hoping it doesn't feel too much like a nerf just because it seems a little bit OP right now. So we'll see how it comes out. So my question for you is, which class buff or class nerf affected you the most in the past, and which one would you like to see in the future? What kind of changes would you like to see to classes in general in the future, whether it be a buff or a nerf? Let me know in the comments below. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.